Well, welcome back to the ThriveIN Wabash County Podcast. This episode is really special because you want to talk about the spirit of entrepreneurship in Wabash County. You two bleed entrepreneurship in every different direction, so we're going to get into that today. Our guests are Kyle and Aubrey Williams, and Kyle, you're a lifelong resident. I mean, you grew up here.
I did.
You drug that beautiful wife of yours back and then made her stay. We're going to talk about we're going to talk about your journey. We're going to talk about what entrepreneurship means to both of you because you're living it every single day in a multitude of ways. And then how that's impacting your daughter. I think that there's a piece of that story there too that we sometimes have to remember as we're living our dreams and doing our work that our children are watching, right? Yeah. And they're learning what we're doing. Yeah. So let's just start right there. Kyle, were you born in the Wabash County Hospital even?
I was.
Okay.
I was. Yep, over there on East Street. And lived in the same house my whole life, just out east of LaGros. And went to Northfield, graduated. And I was one of those small town kids that I said, I want to get out of here. So as soon as I graduated, I joined the Air Force and moved away.
How long were you in the Air Force?
I was on active duty for 13 years.
Wow.
Moved around, several different places, South Carolina, North Carolina, Texas, and then that was my last duty station before we moved back here. So then when we got back here, I finished out my last 7 years in the Air National Guard out of Fort Wayne. So I did my 20 and then retired.
So where did you meet this powerhouse over here?
In Charleston, South Carolina, actually.
Yep.
So way back when on one of those early dating sites.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So.
Oh my gosh, when they actually worked? When they were designed actually for dating?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit then, Aubrey, about you.
Sure. So I was born and raised in Branson, Missouri, actually. And my brother was actually stationed in the Navy in Charleston. And so I had gone down there to visit him. Well, a couple weeks prior, I had joined this dating site. Well, I didn't know that when you go to a different location, it updates your location to
where you are.
And so I got a message from this guy, and he said, "Hey, I would like to take you on a date." And I said, "Well, sorry about that. I don't live here." And so we talked back and forth for a couple weeks. He wouldn't leave me alone. And
maybe it was the other way around. I'm not sure.
Yeah, the timeline's fuzzy, you know.
Yeah.
But eventually he said, I still want to take you up on that date. And I said, well, I live in Missouri and you're in South Carolina. So how's this going to work? And he goes, well, I'll just get a plane ticket and I'll fly out there.
Stop it.
Yeah.
This is like a rom-com unfolding in real life. Okay, continue.
What can I
please.
say? I'm pretty romantic.
I mean, literally, did you really get a plane ticket?
I did.
Yeah.
Flew
Yeah,
up there
you
for our
did.
first date.
Yeah, you did.
Yep. So he flew to Missouri, picked him up at the airport, and we fell in love that weekend. Aww. And 6 weeks later, I moved to South Carolina, and we were engaged, 2 months later? And then married
Maybe.
3 months after that. So we met in January, we were engaged in April, and married in July, and then pregnant in October.
I love this entire story so much. Okay, did you actually do some fact checking? Like, is Kyle Williams a serial killer?
Well, that's actually a funny story.
Was your family like, who is this?
Yeah, my friends and family were convinced that he was Charles Manson and he was going to murder me. And, 17 years later, he hasn't done it yet.
Yeah.
So I think we're in the clear.
In the clear?
Yeah.
Your guys are good?
Yeah.
So you came back then. She said yes.
Yep.
Check. You had a baby, totally sealed now, right? She's not escaping.
Nope.
You moved back to this area. And what's the first thing you both decide to do with your time?
Well, so while I was on active duty, we had started a side hustle.
Okay.
We started a business where we were selling glass water bottles on Amazon. And that was kind of our first foray into business ownership, into entrepreneurship. So that was going really well at the time. And so we moved back here and we bought what she likes to call our Pinterest house over there on Lynn Lawn. Just a small little 1,200 square foot house where we renovated it little by things she found on Pinterest. Mm-hmm. And while we were doing that, then we were running our Amazon business. So we had looked for a storage warehouse location around here, which led us to meet Tom Spees. And so we rented space from him for quite a while, a couple of years at least.
He was a character, wasn't he?
He is a character.
He's
Was
a character.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
We love that guy. He
Yeah.
was
Sure.
he was eccentric and just kind, and
And he was so good to us.
he treated us very well.
He appreciated our hustle.
I bet he did.
And he was always coming up with ideas of, hey, have you tried this? Hey, do you want to try this? Hey, let's do this. So he was great.
Yep. So that's kind of where we started when we got here. And then after we bought the Linlawn house, then we bought some land out east of LaGros, and we decided to build our own home, what we were calling our forever home at that time.
Yep.
And so that's what we started doing. We started building the house, and that kept us busy for a couple of years.
And he's being very humble. So he built our house.
Oh my gosh.
We had the Amish build the shell,
Okay.
and then Kyle did everything else.
Drywall,
Yep.
Yes.
the tape that you put on, all mudding it, sanding, finishing.
So, we hung every square inch of drywall in that house. And by that time, I was like, I am not finishing this by myself. So I did hire that out
Yeah.
because I was like, that's
Drywall dust
Too
is
much.
the worst.
I can't
Yep.
imagine. And exhausting.
Yes.
I mean, it's so you're living in your Pinterest Linlawn house,
Yep.
building your forever home, still running your business that's paying the bills.
And he was coming up against a deployment with the Air National Guard. And so he was trying to finish the house to get us moved in before he left.
How old's your daughter about this time?
She was 6, I think.
no, it was 2018. So she would have been 8.
8. Okay. Yeah.
So
8.
and then still being parents.
Yeah.
Incredible. And Aubrey, you're a doula. A doula.
A
not
doula,
not
yes.
not a doula. It's
Correct.
not one word. It's two separate words. I actually thought that term, judge me if you want to, listeners, I thought it was a doula, as
Yeah.
in one word. And it's not.
Well, when you read her license plate,
Thank you.
The space is there for a reason.
I know.
It is a doula.
Doula. So I then Googled, I thought I knew what that was in helping with home births in like the short Wikipedia. But then I went back and I was doing some more research and preparing for your episode. It's that and so much more. So when did that come about for you?
Sure. So Elena was born in June of 2010. And in March of 2011, I had pulmonary embolisms caused by birth control. And the ER doctor that night told me that if I had gone to bed that night that I wouldn't have woken up, that she had never met somebody with that many blood clots in their lungs alive. And so she said, hey, you are on this earth for a purpose, and now you get to figure that out. And at 21, I was like, okay, sure. And so I just took that as it was and was like, okay, sure, whatever. And a couple months later, I was invited to a doula training. And I thought that was interesting because I had just had this amazing experience with Elena's birth the year prior. Mm-hmm. And I had all this passion for birth and babies and all of these things. And so I didn't know what to do with that, especially finding out that we couldn't have any more children from the medical issues that I had had. Mm-hmm. And so this training came to me, and it was free for military spouses, which I thought was incredible. And so Kyle's like, just go. Just see if it's something that you're interested in and just go. And so the training was November of 2011. I went to it and I was hooked.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, this is what I want to be when I grow up. Previously, I had been a hairstylist.
Okay.
I was a hairstylist when we met. That was what I did straight out of high school. And then once I had Elena, I was like, I love babies. Mm-hmm. I wanted to have a bunch of babies, and I wanted to just love on babies. And so I went to this training knowing I can't have any more babies, but I can take that passion that I have and give it to other people. And so I attended my first birth in December of 2011, and it was a military spouse whose husband was deployed. And so it was incredible being her only support system and walking through that vulnerable time in her life with nobody else except for a stranger that she had just met a few weeks prior. So as a doula, I'm a non-medical support person. I don't have any medical background whatsoever. I don't have a nursing degree or anything like that. Most of the births that I attend are actually in hospitals, birth centers, and the occasional home birth. And as a doula, I'm there for informational, emotional, and physical support. I'm there for both mom and dad. Mom is always my main priority, but dad is going through his own transition into parenthood as well. And so he is always, in the corner of my eye. And I'm always making sure that dad is eating and drinking and not going to pass out when his baby's born.
Or you shared a story with me, of course, protecting HIPAA laws, but you had shared a story with me where you were with a new dad, a new father. The birth had maybe been difficult, and you found yourself in a place where you had to step out of the room. You had to leave the mom. But my gosh, I'm sure the father is going all the things, not only the health and wellness of his wife and now this new life coming into the world. I would imagine there are times when you're in those situations that it's really heavy, in addition to the joy.
Yes, there's so much joy, but there's also a lot of grief, because I don't just support families that get to take their babies home. I support families that don't get to take their babies home. And that's the hard side of it. And also going through births with mom has one vision of what she wants for her experience, and it may end up being the polar opposite.
Yeah.
And that can be really hard. Yeah. And also, babies are not born between 9 and 5 Monday through Friday.
That is for sure.
Most of the time I'm leaving 2 a.m. and I just nudge him and I'm like, hey, I got to go to Fort Wayne. And he's like, okay. And I might be back that day, and I might be back 2 days later.
You have that go bag with you because
Yes.
And your entrepreneur spirit, you're self-employed then.
Sure.
So you are contracted to serve in this support, education, and emotional. Wait, did I miss one?
Informational, emotional, and educational.
So close. She probably wants me to be a space doula. And because you're doing so much of that and being self-employed, and also while you're doing this now, we've left the glass bottle business.
We have. We did just after COVID.
Okay.
Yep.
And now what are you doing?
So
Filling out Aubrey's schedule book?
yeah, pretty much.
I'm kidding.
I just sit around actually. No.
Eat bonbons while
Yes.
she's gone.
Yes.
You pop up. I'm teasing you, Kyle. So what are you doing then?
So before we closed the bottle business, though, we had started acquiring and renovating rentals. So we used our Lynn Lawn house as our first rental here. We still have our home that we built in South Carolina as well. That was really our first rental. Mm-hmm. But here, that was it. And so we started noticing there was a lot of rundown homes at that time. We started hearing a lot of stories about how landlords were just being slumlords and they weren't fixing properties. And so we said, we're not going to be that way. We want to fix a house to the standard that if we wouldn't live in it, then we wouldn't expect anybody else to live in it.
Wow.
So we started fixing up these places, new roofs, new HVAC, new paint, new flooring, and just making it a nice place for people to live. And, we acquired several properties over the last decade.
And shout out to Jenny Terrell.
Yeah.
She has been with us from the very beginning. When we lived in Texas and got a hold of her and was like, hey, we're coming to Wabash and we need a house. We're looking for land. Oh, and we're also interested in investing in rental properties. And she was like, oh, okay. Oh, all right. Let's start at the beginning,
Yeah.
And she's been with us on that wild ride for a decade now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And continues to return, it looks like, to reciprocate the support that she gave you. You've been a loyal customer of hers, client of hers. Mm-hmm. And yet then I have seen her pour back into some of the businesses we're going to talk about today. So
exactly,
that's a great example of.
So our very first property was a duplex on Market Street. And we told Jenny, we're like, we want to buy this duplex. And she's like, it needs one of everything and two of most things. And we're like, yeah, let's do it. And she's like, okay.
I can see her face.
And so we purchased this duplex, for $8,500?
$10,000, I think it was.
Yeah. And literally rebuilt it from the inside out.
Full gut.
Full gut. Needed, again, one of everything, two of most things.
Yeah, not
because it was a duplex.
Unit, 2 units. Yep.
Mm-hmm. And so the upstairs was a 1-bedroom apartment, and that was what we did first because it was the easiest to do.
The smaller one.
Yeah, the downstairs was a little more involved. And so we got it done, and she was like, have you guys ever heard of Airbnb? And we're like, yeah, we've heard of it. And she's like,
but who's going to want to come to Wabash and
she
stay in
goes,
an
what?
Airbnb? Yeah.
How dare you?
Yeah, at that time, yeah.
She goes, have you considered doing that here? And we're like, nobody comes to Wabash. And she was like, you'd be surprised. She goes, I say give it 6 months. Put it on Airbnb. She goes, just go to Airbnb and see what Airbnbs are available in Wabash currently. And so we did that, and we were like, oh, we can totally do this way better. And so we furnished
we thought, well,
it.
we'll try it. Yep.
We furnished it, and within 6 months, we were fully booked.
Now, this was six and a half years ago. So this was kind of before Wabash took that turn, I feel like, towards the tourism route.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and in that time, we have had so many different reasons why people come to Wabash and stay in our Airbnbs, and it's been crazy. But being right downtown on Market Street, close to the Honeywell Center and Eagles, and walking distance to everything has been like our major selling point.
Yeah. So we finished the upstairs, furnished it, got it on Airbnb. It started booking up, and we were downstairs working on the downstairs unit. And we see a for sale sign go in the yard of a property down the road. And I told Kyle, I said, hey, there's a for sale sign in that yard. I said, that house is so cute.
So cute.
I said, I think it would make a good Airbnb. And he's like, I don't know. I said, let's just go look at it. Let's go look at it. So we called Jenny and we're like, hey, we just saw a for sale sign go in the yard. Can we go look at this property? And so we went and looked at it, I think that day. And we put an offer in on it. And I don't know, 2-3 weeks later, we turned it, had it fully furnished, put it on Airbnb, and it started booking up too. And so we're like, okay, apparently people do come to Wabash.
Apparently. Thank goodness.
Yep.
Yeah.
So then the downstairs unit of that duplex, we converted it from a 2-bedroom, 1-bath to a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. And we originally had it as a long-term rental for the first about 2 years. And it really wasn't working out we'll just say it wasn't really working out. Yeah. So we decided to, after the tenant moved out, we decided to go ahead and make it an Airbnb as well. And that has actually become our most popular unit now, just because it can sleep 7 people.
Right.
And we get, utility crews that come in and stay for a week, or 2 families or things like that, all the time.
And especially like if couples come to go to a show at the Honeywell, there's plenty of room for 3 couples at that property.
And they're splitting that cost then.
Yeah,
exactly.
and it's stupid cheap for 3 couples.
And when you look at the amenities that Wabash County has, and then the cost to stay here, it makes it for a very affordable weekend, right? And then if you're able to even share that cost, then
absolutely.
That was the time I got to meet you both, was after you'd finished both of those 2 properties. And I will say the heart that you exhibited the first day we met you both was inspiring, because we found people that chose, yes, you both are very good at business. You've shown that now. You're handy, obviously, but you still had a choice, and you chose then to give back with some standards, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And your hope is, and by having these available, is yes, you're making money, great, but people are getting exposure here in a quality stay, and that's our experience and an extension of what the quality of life can be here as well.
Absolutely.
So that's your first 2/3 Airbnb units that you have. And you're over here delivering babies and,
Well, not delivering them.
Supporting the delivery of,
yes. Doulas and midwives get confused a lot.
Thank you.
Midwives are the medical side. Doulas are the non-medical side. I do not deliver babies.
Not to say she hasn't caught one before.
I did catch one, but that is not something that I do on the regular. That one was coming.
You will if you have to.
Yeah, that one was coming whether we liked it or not, and EMS was en route, but they didn't make it. And so...
I was there.
It's like a football. You just don't drop it and you guard it with your life. So
you are helping in the world of growing our population in one way or another.
Yep.
You've got your Airbnbs and you decided you're bored, right?
Yeah.
Or something. I don't know.
We had finished our house. We had finished our
house. The
house.
LeGros property?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Moved in there. He had gone on his deployment, had returned safely. And this was COVID time.
Yeah. We lived there about 3 years.
Yeah.
And then one day she looks at me and she goes, "What do you think about selling this place?" And I was like, "What?" After I literally just poured all my blood, sweat, and tears in here. Like we did. I mean,
the look that I got and the "Are you serious?" I was like,
yeah.
I mean, have you?
Maybe.
I said, I mean, why not? You only live once. And so
she's like, "Well, call Jenny and let's at least have a conversation. We'll see what she thinks it can sell for and that kind of stuff. And then we can decide what we want to do." And so we did. We had a very good conversation with Jenny.
And again, the whole thing with Jenny, if you ask her today, if you ask her about us, oh, they're crazy.
I'm sure.
And I'm
starting to wonder a little now too after this.
Yeah.
Because,
we're just getting started.
There's so many layers to this onion. You just keep peeling back and you're like, but wait, there's more.
So then when we decided that we were going to sell the house, this was 2021 timeframe.
Yeah.
Houses were going for more than listing price. And we listed it, had like 5 showings the first day, offer accepted the same day.
Yeah.
Well over asking price.
5 showings, 5 offers, and then we had 2 people that were bidding.
Yeah.
And so it sold for substantially more than Jenny said we would get out of it, which was a blessing.
Yeah.
And then we're like, okay, now what?
Well, at that time, we
We were
decided.
homeless. Where did you move? Which
we were
Airbnb?
talking about going on the road. Yeah. So we decided to buy a very large 43-foot fifth wheel, and we were going to full-time travel in that. So we pulled Elaine out of school, and we started homeschooling her, and we hit the road for a little while. And so then it became, for about 3 years, we lived in this RV full-time. We would travel during the wintertime, and then we would come back and we would stay at Coco Joe's during the season, April to November. And then after about 3 years...
Well, and in the meantime of all of this traveling, when we would come back to Wabash, we were interested in investing in a downtown building. And so we were always keeping our eye on what was available. We'd look on Zillow, or, whatever it was. We'd be like, oh, that building's for sale. We should look at that when we're in town next. And in one way or another, anytime that we would come back to town, the building that we were interested in would be sold, or we would get outbid or something like that. And so the running joke between us was like, well, Stinson's is still available. And he was like, no.
Now, initially, was it the size? Was it what it would take to get it to where you both would want it? What was that initial reaction to the no?
I think for us, mostly, it was just like everybody else. It was full of stuff. And it's like, how do you clear that much stuff out of there?
And for our listeners who aren't here from Wabash and Wabash County, Stinson's is how big is that? Is that building?
The whole building itself is about 19,000 square feet. And
it's on a major thoroughfare in our community. And for those who don't remember the Stinsons, whom they were so beloved.
Great
so
people.
Sweet.
Oh,
so
sweetest people.
Oh, honey. God willing.
Yep.
They had a thrift store, and they had things on the first floor. On the second floor, and I think Granny lived on the third floor. Isn't that right, Granny Stinson?
No, she lived on the second floor.
Oh, second
but then
floor,
above her was another empty space that was full of stuff as well.
And so your initial no was size and all that's inside of it.
The work, the encompassing work of what it would take.
Okay.
Yep.
And so they had it on the market for several years and gotten to a point where they had reduced it and nobody was interested, or the people that were interested, their plans didn't pan out. And so we had come back to town and we saw the for sale sign was gone. And we're like, oh, someone bought Stinson's. Yay, that's great.
Yeah.
And so we had messaged Jenny and we said, hey, we saw someone bought Stinson's. Do you know what's going in there? And she said, actually, they're going to send it to auction because they couldn't sell it. And we were like, oh, well, that's kind of sad. And so then in our heads, we're like, okay, somebody from out of state or out of town that doesn't know Wabash is probably going to buy this building for dirt cheap. And,
possibly just sit on it.
Sit on it, possibly do something with it that maybe is for the best interest of Wabash and maybe not. Maybe it's for the best interest of their pockets.
Right.
And so we found John Stinson's number and I said, let's just call him. Let's just call him and let's go look at the building. Just see if it's even a possibility.
She's good at this, isn't she?
She is.
She's good at
this. She's very good at research. And so she's the one that found his number.
She can see it, can't she? You can see the potential in something.
I'm usually the design person and he's the handy.
We both are pretty good at seeing the vision,
Yeah.
but then she takes care of usually the design aspect.
Yeah.
So,
That's awesome.
And so he calls Mr. Simpson and he says, yeah, I'll show it to you this afternoon. And he literally gave us the VIP tour and took us behind the scenes and showed us every nook and cranny of that building. And Jenny was there with us, which was awesome. And so he had said, this is the price that I need to get out of the building. This is the price I need to get out of the contents. And we were like, oof, we can't do it. We can't do it. And so we talked with Jenny And we were like, I don't think we're going to move forward. You know, it sucks, but I don't think we're going to move forward. And then one of our things is we've always been creative with how we acquire properties or make deals or just live life in general. We don't do anything by the book or inside a box. And so we had a conversation with Mr. Simpson and we said, hey, and his wife had just recently passed. And so he was overwhelmed in the pits of grief. And we said, we would like to take this load off of you. And here's what we can do. And he kind of asked us, like, what are you thinking for the space? What do you want to do? You know? And so we had kind of told him our thoughts and he was like, okay. And so we purchased the building with the contents. So he did not have to lift a finger. Wow. And we literally took all of that load off of him.
Mm-hmm. And I bet he was grieving. And I'm sure, you know, you talk about best friends for life. Mr. and Mrs. Stinson were that type of married couple. And when you say he was in the throes of grief, I'm sure he was. And for you to offer that blessing to help him in that time, I'm sure was a huge relief to him.
Yeah. And I remember him telling us, you know, he said, I was worse off than she was. And why I pulled through and she didn't, I'll never understand. And that was just so heartbreaking, you know, because he loved her and they had built this, you know, incredible life together and he was lost without her. And so he didn't know what to do with the building and all of the things. And so we were thrilled to, you know, help him out with that.
You know, if you ever went there, I don't know how they made money because you'd go in and they'd say, oh, honey, if you need it, you just take it. You just take it, you know? Sometimes I think God was just underwriting their entire business operation because that really was their heart, you know? And then also something for Granny Stinson to do on First Fridays to sit in her, you know, and run that cash
Absolutely.
register.
Yeah. She was always the sweetest. You just let me know if you need anything.
I know. So what a great way for you both to show up for John Stinson. And so now you have acquired this 19,000 square foot, beautiful, eye-catching building full of treasures.
And we're still living in our RV out at Coco Joe's. And then we're like, okay, let's do the thing. We go big or go home, you know? And so why we decided to buy one of the biggest buildings downtown, you know, I don't know.
Sometimes we wonder, but it's all worked out now.
Yeah.
So we had Metzger Auctions come in and just put lot stickers on everything. And they ran an online auction and people came in one by one and started clearing it out for us, which was nice.
And the Metzger's does a fabulous job with their online auction service.
They were so fast.
So fast.
Like just a couple of days, they had the entire building priced and we were
categorized and photographed and everything.
Yeah.
Wow.
We had a great experience with them. And people started carrying stuff out. And then little by little, the space started getting bigger. So it was.
And that's when we could really see, okay, we can take this down. We can open this up. We can do this. How about we compartmentalize it a little bit? How about we do this? How about we do that? And so he started building walls where I said, hey, let's put a wall here. And hey, let's do this.
Did you have... So we're grateful that your Airbnbs are full, pretty steady, and I'm assuming, do you take care of cleaning those yourselves, or do you have some help?
We started that way. Myself and my mother-in-law were actually the OG cleaners of the Airbnbs, and then it got to be too much for the two of us, and so we hired independent cleaners.
And so you have some help there.
Yes.
Yep.
With the Miami Canal Street property, how did you go about deciding? So you're brainstorming and see the potential in this mammoth-sized historic building. What was it? It used to be called Beitman and Wolf.
Beitman and Wolf.
Oh, man.
88 years.
Man, Beitman and Wolf. How are you both coming to deciding how to lay it out? Because I love the entrances that you've created from both streets. Brilliant. But how do you start? What's that conversation look like for you to decide how to break this space up? How do we generate revenue per square footage?
Yeah. So we were trying to maximize the use of the space. And so obviously the two front storefronts on Canal Street were already pretty well laid out. I mean, once we got them empty, there were two big storefronts. So we knew that we just wanted to strip everything back and kind of reveal some of that character and then just make them their own storefronts. So we kind of just started with that.
Lots of demo.
Yeah, oh my goodness, lots of demo.
So much demo. Because if
But-
you remember, there was wall-to-wall shelving and there was drop ceilings.
Yes.
And so that we started on the 98 side, which is beautiful. Like it was our
So
favorite.
The 98 side is
On the one right on the corner of Miami and Canal. So
Okay.
that's where Vault 85 went into
yes.
first.
Okay.
So we made that a priority to finish that one first because Wade had come to us and was looking for a space. And so about 2 or 3 months prior,
Yeah.
we talked to him and we said, this is our vision. And he goes, I love it.
He
goes,
came in
so-
and there was dust and debris and just pure chaos. And he was like, I love it. I'll take it. And we were like, are you sure?
Is it going to always be this easy? And we know
Yeah.
that.
And
that's
so
not
that lit a
always-
fire under us
Yeah.
that, okay, we're doing this.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so
So we finished that one, and then
Yeah.
we moved next door to the other one. And shortly after then, we had Teresa Bakehorn and Katie Pratt come talk to us from Our House Real Estate, looking for a space. And we did the same thing. It was rough. And we said, this is our vision. And they said, okay, great, we'll take it. So we're like, okay,
we're
2
like,
for
all
2.
right, yeah,
Awesome.
2 for 2.
Yeah.
This is wonderful.
Yeah.
So
But the biggest thing with planning all of this out too was we knew there was an apartment upstairs and we knew that there was space for future apartments as well. And so how before when the Stinsons had it, how it was just one big area that flowed, all the way through, we needed to compartmentalize the storefronts to be their own spaces and then have an access space that was just for tenants going upstairs to apartments. And so we have this like middle area, if anybody remembers where the cashier station was,
Yes.
that is no longer there. I'm sorry. People were very heartbroken to learn that, but it was not in our design plan.
Yeah.
But that is the thoroughfare to get to the upstairs. And so that is it has its own entrance, it's its own space, has its own security system,
Has its own pedestrian sign, canal
Yes.
crossing that looks so nice.
Yes.
yep, you come right into the old hardware section there.
Yeah. If you
and-
remember where the hardware section and the cashier station was, that's the entrance to our apartment area. So
Yep. So that was the other thing we did. Top priority was to get that apartment. Basically, it was just needing a little bit of refinement, some
Yeah.
refurbishment. So we did that.
refreshing.
Then, yeah.
And that's where Granny lived.
Yep.
Yes.
So I know you had to relay it out, but did you keep the chair seat that Granny used to get up the stairs? Is that gone?
It is
gone.
gone.
Isn't
It
It
sold in
stopped
the auction.
working.
Yeah.
Did
It stopped working anyway, and so they had to fix it. So
Yeah.
some days I wish I still had it though.
Hey, there's 26 stairs all the way up. When you're carrying armloads of groceries up there, it's a workout.
You feel every 26 stairs, all the stairs. Yeah.
Yep.
Because we'll get to that. So you have this apartment now renovated.
Sure.
Yep.
And is it rented?
We rented it out pretty quickly. Yep.
Good.
Put it on apartments.com, rented it, and to a guy who was working at GM and going back and forth between Fort Wayne and Marion. And so he said Wabash was kind of a great central location. So he rented it for the first year, and that worked out really well. Great tenant. And we were still living in the RV at the time.
And winter was coming.
Yep. So after he moved out, we had just gotten back and we decided we were going to move in to that apartment until we figured out what we were going to do.
Yeah. Because RVing in the winter in Indiana is a no. We did it 1 year and we were like, never again.
I'm amazed that you two love each other so much that you can spend that much time in an RV.
377 square feet
That is a testament to what a strong marriage looks like.
and homeschooling.
And homes. But I've met your daughter. You know what I think about Elena. She's going to change the world if she's not already. That young lady was impressive from day one when I met her. She was smarter than me from day one when I met her too. Just so eloquent. When you were renovating, you had your Canal Street storefronts filled. And I don't know if you already had plans of what you were going to do with your Miami Street storefront. But you talk about some of that partnership, and you've talked about Metzger's auction, and you've talked about Jenny Terrell and in your relationship with the Stinsons. You were doing some top secret work on that storefront, and you had brown paper over your windows.
Yeah.
We did.
And I said to my marketing team, I said, I wonder if Kyle and Aubrey would let us put promo posters in the window while he's working. He can still keep what he's doing top secret. We can use the street level, right, to promote our upcoming programs.
Yep.
And you both were like, absolutely.
Yeah,
And
loved it.
we loved it too, because you could have just as easily said, nah. And then when we needed to update them, you gave Biz on my team the code. You said, you just go in and update them.
Yeah.
And so that connectivity, that trust, that relationship with your neighbors is just so deep rooted in who you both, the way you both approach the way you live, obviously, but then the way that you do your work. I mean, you could have just as easily been like, nope, it's a mess in here. I don't want the risk. I don't want you coming in here while I'm working. And you were so gracious to say, absolutely, please, please. And it drew attention now to the win for you was it also drew attention to your upcoming storefront.
Yep.
So the front's filled, apartments rented. You're not living there at the time you're working on the Miami Street property or storefront, are you? Or are you?
That was our next project that we moved into was the Miami Street property.
Yeah.
So, and at that time, as you know, we were running the For Goodness Shakes ice cream trailer with some of our friends.
I forgot that on my Kyle and
on your
Aubrey
list.
Yep. So that was another thing that we
Just
did.
wait, there's more.
That was
more.
a project that me and 3 of my other friends got together on. We said, how can we give back to the community? And most of us were handy people in one way or another. And we were originally going to get together and just kind of work on people's houses and that kind of thing. But then somehow we all agreed that we loved ice cream and we thought it would be cool to own an ice cream truck. So we decided to do that and then use the profits to give back to the community. So we ran that for a few years. And through that, we had met Tim and Jenny Nelson from Tim's Tie and now Bubbles and Boba, kind of formed a relationship, friendship with them. And when they saw that we had this location coming available, they said, hey, they came to us and this is what we're thinking. We want to do a bubble tea shop and stuff. And so we thought, man, there's no greater people that we could put in there, and we would love to support
How do we
fellow
say
food
no?
truck people, and so right from the beginning, we put a plan together and they said, would you build the bar and all that stuff? And I said, sure. So we did it and renovated it and got them in there. And that's been a great partnership from day one.
And they opened, and at that point we're done RVing. We decided, hey, we've got a lot of eggs in Wabash, in the Wabash basket.
Yeah.
We need to be here.
Yeah.
And Elena was starting her high school career.
Elena wanted to go to high school.
Yeah.
We had homeschooled for 3 years. We had traveled for 3 years. And then she said, hey, I want to have high school experience. And so we said, okay. And so that kind of sealed the deal too, because we had asked her every year, do you want to continue homeschooling? Do you want to continue traveling? Do you like what we're doing? She is very much involved in our decisions that we make as a family. Even when we purchased Stinson's, she explored that place. She loved.
Oh, yes.
Loved.
She did.
Exploring, gathering all of the things that she needed to keep.
Yep.
Which was a great way, truly through her, then to honor what the Stinsons wanted, to see the joy of a child finding in that treasure.
Sure. Yeah.
Yep.
So Tim and Jenny move in and we're done RVing and we decide, you know what? We've got space in this building. Why don't we live in it? And so we built out our apartment. Well, Kyle built it out.
Are you on the 3rd floor? Are you in the penthouse?
No. No. And that is what we did call the penthouse.
The 3rd floor we have dubbed the penthouse. And
That
one
space-
day it will be incredible.
Yeah, that space is still rough right now.
So the gentleman moved out, the long-term rental, and then
Correct.
you were deciding go ahead and make that your family home.
Yeah.
And
We
the
moved
penthouse still has a future.
Yes.
We
Okay.
furnished it while we were living there with the intention of making it more of like a medium-term rental because we were getting some requests here and there from different companies for, like a 3-month or 4-month, 6-month rental.
And we couldn't
so
block out that length of time at our Airbnbs because we had so many
random bookings.
Yeah.
So we made that a medium-term rental, and we actually hosted a couple of travel nurses back-to-back there. Was that before or after we moved in?
That was before we moved in.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, we moved in, and then
so
started
then
building
we're
out our apartment.
commuting. Yeah, we're commuting very far down the hallway from where we're living to where we're building and going to live in the future. And so if anybody, again, remembers Stinson's, the layout of Stinson's, where the Christmas room was upstairs, that is now where we live.
The Christmas room and record room.
Yes, and picture room.
The blood red record room.
I will
Yes.
say I love your point of reference, though, in that building for us now. And I can see on both of your faces that there's still this connection and gratitude back to the Stinsons. I mean, the fact that you're still referencing the layout, I mean, one, to our listeners, that's how prominent and important this little thrift shop was to this community because of those people.
Absolutely.
But I can see it on both of your faces still. Like there's still this, wow, you've built it into something that is so beautiful. But,
just the sheer amount of work that took, because in my mind, we were starting kind of with a blank space. I was like, oh, we just have to build out the apartment. Well, there was way more demo involved in that and rebuilding and all the infrastructure, the plumbing, the wiring, the electric, all that stuff had to be done. And so even though I've been doing this a lot, that one was still more than I expected.
But the beautiful thing about it the entire time is we're having Thai food smells come from downstairs, and we're like, oh, this is great.
This is also dangerous.
Very dangerous.
Thank gosh you had 26 stairs.
Yes.
Right, to get down to it.
Right.
But the bottom of the stairs leads to the back door of the Bubbles and Boba shop.
Yeah, so we had very easy access to pick up our food.
Well, your storefronts on Canal Street are full, but as with owning any property, businesses move in, sometimes businesses move out.
Yeah.
Economic times change.
Yep.
And so after a year or so for one of the storefronts, you're trying to refill it. I know you did some partnerships with, I know, the Lighthouse Mission and...
Yeah, we had Wade in there for, a year and a half?
Yeah.
Yep.
And then it sat empty for a little bit. And then Jenny from the Lighthouse Mission reached out and she said, oh my gosh, we need somewhere for our Christmas store. And, we're kind of laughing because there was a Christmas room upstairs. And we're like, how about we have a Christmas room downstairs now?
Right.
And so they moved in for 3 months and had their Christmas store there. And that was wonderful. And then they moved out and we were like, okay, God, what do you have for us next?
Right.
Who is the next face that is going to come in?
If you remember, right after Jenny had came and leased the space, the people from Volt Family Fun showed up. And they said, oh, we want to rent this space. And I said, well, the Christmas store is about ready to move in here.
Yeah.
But at that time, we had been talking to the realtors next door, and they wanted to share the front of their space. So we put the Volt Family Fun folks.
Braspies first.
It was Braspies Trinkets,
Yeah.
in the front of there. And we said, when the Christmas store moves out, then you can move over there at the first of the year. So,
and that was awesome too, because you both got to be some of that first welcome to Alicia.
Yep.
And then we got to meet her and hear how they had moved here from out of state. And so for you two to be kind of their first ambassadors and welcome, and what it's like to be entrepreneurs, and we're making it. And this community tends to really lean in. You got to be that springboard for Braspies Trinkets, which grew to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked to both of them, and we were like, well, if we can do something to help get them in here, then let's do it, And so that's when I talked to Teresa there at our house, and she goes, yeah, that'd be fine. So it worked out well, and we have helped them get their start here.
Yeah.
And then after that year, when they decided to move out, and they said, hey, we actually want to expand.
Yeah, they said, we've outgrown this space, and we're like, good for you.
Yeah,
That's right.
We were sad to see them go because they're such great people, great tenants, but we were also thrilled for them that they were actually expanding and needing more space.
So again, you helped a business get their footing in the door, and that location did so well for them that now they needed to expand and get to a bigger space.
Yes.
Yep.
To expand on their services.
And right before they had moved out, our house had condensed.
Yeah.
And we were approached by 2 young entrepreneurs that were wanting to open their own boutique. And so we're like, we have half of a storefront. Do you want that? And they were like, absolutely. Yeah. And so we had, just this really amazing entrepreneurial spirit coming into this building. And we're like, this is why we were supposed to buy this building, to help these entrepreneurs follow their dreams.
That's right.
And, maybe it was just for a season and maybe it's for the future. But that has been so rewarding during, with all the headache and all the stress and all of the hard work and the blood and sweat and tears and maybe a few beers. It's been
Just a
worth it.
couple.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you got to have a little bit of fuel every now and then.
That's right.
So now you have Volt's expanded, the young entrepreneurs, those young ladies, they had their storefront. They decided to move on to their next thing, and it's empty.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we were like, well, last time we had our storefront sitting available, it was the only one down here, and it still took about 6 to 8 months to get it rented. So do we want to do that now with 2 storefronts? So,
And we were kind of like, oh crap.
yeah.
Now we have no interest. We have no tenants except for Bubbles and Boba. But we're like, what do we do? Because in the economy right now, and small businesses are struggling and everyday people are struggling. And so we were like, well, we can either let them sit empty or we can figure out something to do with this space.
So we were racking our brains. We were talking to people. What does Wabash need? What do we do? And in the back of my mind the whole time, I've been wanting a golf simulator. And so
He originally wanted to put it upstairs.
yeah, we
to have
a,
his own little space
we
upstairs.
have a space upstairs. I was going to put a
The
garage
penthouse,
version
maybe,
in.
or
Nope, not the
okay.
penthouse.
Okay.
We affectionately refer to this room as the skylight room.
Okay.
Because it has a big skylight in it, but it's just a big storage room right now.
Yeah.
It's where Beitman and Wolf used to hang their fur coats after they
Back in the day.
made them way back in the
Oh,
day.
yeah.
Yep. So I told her, I was like, well, what if we get a commercial golf simulator and put it downstairs and rent it out? And she was a little hesitant, but she kind of supported it.
Yeah.
And the more we talked about it, the more we kind of considered our options. Then she came up with the idea of, well, what if we don't just do a golf simulator, but then maybe we put some pool tables in? And from there, we discussed and went back and forth, and we decided to make it this adult gaming space, hangout space, way to get to be social, to get off your phones and,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. And so it developed into the Fore Seasons Social Club from there.
And the biggest thing with that is because we had Brass Bees Trinkets and Volt Family Fun that had expanded to the south side, we did not want to take anything away from them
Right. Sure.
because they have their own entertainment space for families and kids. And we had this, golf simulator, pool table sort of idea. And we thought, well, we don't want to take any business from them.
Right.
And so let's just make it for adults.
That's actually brilliant because now you have both forms of entertainment, right? So you can
Right.
pick up your kids, you can go out to Volt, you could have the kiddie party and play laser tag and dance on the pixel floor and play the claw game, right? And now we have a place to do the adult birthday party.
And the
You
date
know,
nights.
And the
And
date
date
nights. But
Yep.
that was a gap, that full service, full wraparound. So I love the language social club so much. That makes my little marketing heart, smile. But hearing you describe, get off your phone, get with each other, and be social.
Yeah. So much of our time is wasted doom scrolling,
Oh,
laying in bed at night and scrolling on your phone for hours, or you see your friends got a new vehicle or went on a vacation, or their kids graduated kindergarten or whatever, and it's just like or love or whatever, and people aren't talking to each other anymore. Even people that you know and love, you don't really talk to them anymore. And so we had this whole concept of let's make this hangout space for adults, and let's make it to where you have to be social and you have to socialize. And we came up with the name of a social club, and
so good.
we love it, but we hate it because people think, oh, it's exclusive. You have to have a membership. You have to, and that is something that we have tried to educate on. We do not require you to have a membership. Yes, it's a club. It's a hangout space.
Right.
But there's no membership required.
It's like your clubhouse.
It's
Exactly.
a clubhouse.
Hang out,
Yeah.
place to hang out.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
the adult tree fort.
Kind of, yeah.
Except
Or it's like the golf clubhouse. You
except
go
we're
in
too
there.
old. We can't climb up into a tree house anymore. So it's you can walk in. It's ADA compliant.
It's ground level.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Just to kind of hit on something that you both shared. I think I'm a little older than both of you, but could you imagine telling your 21-year-old self, someday people will be so enamored with strangers and what's going on and staring at advertisements? My 21-year-old self would be like, no way.
Right.
People would be wasting their life looking down and staring at strangers. I can't, I just,
Right.
and not to put anybody down, and some people make their living as being influencers, and I respect wherever you're called to serve, but we do get lost in those little pocket computers and forget to look up.
We do.
Yeah.
And be present.
Yeah.
Yep. And we've seen several instances of people saying, hey, I'm new to town. I'm not really a drinker, but is there, somewhere I can go and hang out and that kind of stuff? And there really wasn't much for people, unless you go to a bar. And so while we wanted to be a place that offers a few different types of alcoholic beverages, if that's your thing, we don't want to be known as a bar where that's what you're expected to do. So it's a place where you can kind of come and have a drink if you want, but if you don't, we have plenty of other things to drink, and we just want you to come in and hang out and be social.
It's kind of like it's your concession stand. It's available if you want it. You don't have to partake from it if you don't want to. You can get a soda or a water or some snacks.
Exactly.
And I do want you both to describe the space a little bit more in detail, but something else, back to Aubrey and Kyle, you say, how can we help our neighbors? And so there's another piece to this business operations that you were both so mindful about. You want to share a little bit about how you're leaning into your neighbors as well?
Yeah. So with Fore Seasons, while we do serve alcohol and we do have drinks and snacks, we don't have a kitchen. And that's kind of a disadvantage, but it's also an advantage because we're able to help out our neighbors. Yeah. We have a partnership with Bubbles and Boba, and that has been really awesome because they have made a menu just for our clients, just for our people that come in and hang out. And they scan the QR code, and Tim or Jenny or even our daughter may hand deliver your dinner to you, and you don't even have to leave our space. You can still hang out. You can still have fun. You can still be throwing darts, and they'll bring your food right to you.
What a great idea. They, Bubbles and Boba, they are an eatery that you can go sit, hang out, carry out. I can't tell you how many times both Tim and Jenny have brought our lunches over to the Welcome Center, right? Because we go over and order, come back, we're working away, and then they just run it over to us. But what's nice is the way you so easily complement one another to build a bridge between operations and that support that's good, because they're going to do the same thing. Customers are going to come in for their boba tea, and they're going to say, oh my gosh, have you heard about Fore Seasons and or their Thai food or their spring rolls? I could go on and on about
and they have been really good about that. And not only that, but they have the social media presence as well, and they're mindful of that. And so when we share something, that's one of the first things they do is they get on their social media and they share it. And so then their followers see it. And social media has just been a great thing in general for advertising, especially due to, the lower cost and, and things like that. But they have been, just like we were supportive of them, getting them into our building and helping them get open, they have reciprocated and just been great partners, but great friends as well. Yeah. So
and
it's
Tim,
going really
well. Loves to create food, and he's like, "Hey, will you guys taste test this?" And we're like, "I guess, yes, bring it on over."
Can you meet me at the top of the steps?
Twist my arm. Yeah.
So I've gotten to go into Fore Seasons a couple of different times. The decor, the vibe, that word is so used so often, but the feeling you get when you walk in there is, I feel comfortable, but in a refined way, but not stuffy. Am I using all the right words together?
And that was ultimately our entire goal. Just like with our Airbnbs, how they're decorated, and we want you to feel welcomed. We want you to feel comfortable. We want you to feel at home, and we want you to stay for a really long time.
Yeah.
That's been our goal. And so we personally tested all the furniture out. Good. Like we were very picky on that. Everybody compliments our bar stools. Those were actually Kyle's pick. My pick, he hated. And so
were they, what was it?
She had round bar stools that had no back on them.
And you're like, I've sat at a lot of bars.
I have. Yeah. And I was like, if I'm going to sit there and watch a TV with some football on it or something, I would like a back on my stool. Yeah. And so
everybody's like, oh my gosh, these bar stools are so comfortable. And he's like, thank you.
But I do give her credit for the rest of the furniture. She picked the rest of it out. The couches are all super comfortable, and the chairs and everything. So,
but it's also the details.
Yeah,
it's yes, that's important, right? Foundationally, right. But it's the next level of thoughtfulness and details that it sounds like you have poured into every business that you've touched.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we always want to personalize it just a little bit, and again, with this space, just a fun hangout space to relax and feel comfortable. We also wanted it to be a little quirky.
We wanted it to be golf themed, but at the same time, then we wanted to be quirky on top of that.
Yeah.
So the first few things that she picked out were really off the wall.
He was like, he goes,
and
I don't understand where you're going with this.
there's a picture of two cats playing pickleball with a pickle.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is this about? And so I was a little hesitant at first, but then the more things that she picked up, I'm like, wow, these are all super random, but they're distributed around the place, and they give their conversation
100%.
pieces for people to go and look at and laugh. And I can't tell you how many times I've sat there and watched somebody staring at a sign and just chuckle. So it's been hilarious.
Yeah.
So you walk in the front door, and that's the key thing. You can just walk in that front door.
You just walk right in.
And
no membership required.
No membership required. But what I love, and we were talking as we were walking to the studio today, we're getting ready. Visit Wabash County is getting ready to release a feature article just about Fore Seasons to help share that a membership is not required. It's actually a benefit if you so choose to want to use it or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the space is open to the public, 21 or older, because you do offer an adult concession stand. That's what I'm going to start calling it from now on. An adult concession stand. But when you walk in, there's a bar to your right, there's tables to the left. Your simulator is state-of-the-art, and it is not just golf. It is
multi-sport.
So give me some of those multi-sports, because there's one in there that had never heard of before, and that's in our feature article. So I got to ask about it. But the simulator has...
There's 15 different sports, but some of the most popular are going to be like bowling, disc golf. There's a few different baseball games on there, football quarterback game, soccer, basketball, cornhole. Yep. And then there's a dodgeball game, but it's really just you get to throw and destroy skeletons and pirates and things like that.
It's like duck hunt.
Kind of, yeah.
I gotcha, but not with a gun.
Not to mention, we do have 2 shooting games as well.
Yeah,
One is a Wild West shooting gallery game with a pistol. And then we have a hunting game that's like a woodland fowl hunting. And then there's also a skeet shooting range on that.
Are either of you avid hunting sportsmen? Like, how accurate is that gun? Like, is it like a good training, or is it just for fun? Like,
it's for fun, because there's also the little crosshairs on the screen that you get to use. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty accurate.
We've been
it's
shocked at some of the people that come in, and we're like, oh, wow, you're really good at that.
You're like, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And of course, obviously, golf is the main draw for people. And the nice thing about it is it has the PGA courses, most of them. But then it also has our local courses. So you can play Edna Acres. You can play Honeywell.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Yep. Rock Hollow's on there.
Yeah.
The Waldo I've played.
Purgatory
down
Purgatory.
Yep.
I'm going to make a note. I need to make sure that note is also in the feature article. I read a draft of it the other day.
And we've even had Devin from Etna Acres come out and play.
Oh, did you?
And we told him ahead of time, like, the scenery's a little different. You don't see the road and you don't see the trailer park, but the holes are the same.
We have him on a podcast episode too. So
nice.
At Acres, yeah.
Nice.
The one that we have covering in our feature article is soccer bowling. Is that right?
Foot golf.
Foot golf.
Yep.
I'm so sorry. Yep. What is foot golf? Exactly what it sounds. Your foot's the club?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With a soccer ball. So it's actually a mix between golf and disc golf.
Is that a real sport in real life?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Soccer golf is a real sport.
Yeah. You can. I believe it's they use the chains just like you do the baskets, like you do with disc golf. But on our simulator, this is how it's set up. Mm-hmm. So
soccer golf.
Most people, they go to the soccer game that has the goalie, and they like to try to score against the goalie.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. That's a common favorite.
Yeah. Bowling is another one. People just love the bowling because we don't have a bowling alley. I know. And so you get, kind of the same experience.
Sure. You still have the adult concession stand if you want. You can order dinner, and if you want, you can make an adult party.
Yep. And with that, we do tell people, besides our partnership with Bubbles and Boba, we do tell people if you want to order a pizza from Pizza King, you can go down and get it and bring it in to our space and eat it there. Or if you wanted to bring in something from Moondog or Market Street, we're open to that because we don't have our own kitchen.
Sure.
So even though we do have our own specific menu with Bubbles and Boba, we're open to that. We want,
kind of like how Chapman's used to be, where you could bring food in and just hang out and, socialize. Same concept.
And you've removed a barrier to keep, or to that when can make people think they have to only stop in and then leave to go to dinner.
Right.
Now they can stop in, stay and have dinner and then stay after,
Yeah.
which is really, really nice.
Correct.
The room next to the simulator has air hockey, it has pool, it has a poker table, it has just a kind of a, I last time I was in there was just a group of people hanging out, having, I forget what they were having to drink, but they didn't have food. They were just being social
Yep.
Yeah.
with one another and
Yep.
enjoying the space. And so even if you aren't into wanting to sit down and play a game, we have tons and tons of games, the game side.
Yep.
Yeah.
But you also don't have to do it. Can just be a place to meet up.
Yeah,
That
and just hang
isn't-
out.
That is different than a bar.
Right.
Right. It's different than that bar feel, right? So it is a place to get and to come and to be social.
We have a miniature living room set up kind of there with some couches and some
Yeah.
chairs and stuff. And so we have a lot of people sit there. But if you wanted to just grab a deck of cards and play right there, you can. We have a couple of card tables where you can play cards or games on that, and a whole shelf full of board games and things. Trying to go analog with some of that stuff, and just get people back to, what we used to do when we were
This?
kids.
The good old days.
Connecting with
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
another.
Yeah.
You also launched some themed nights, like bingo, and it was 80s themed.
Yeah.
And I love the innovation in thinking of more ways for people to think about how they can come and interact with the space and to bring people in. It's a very new business, but most certainly needed. You talked about how it is a club. Come in, hang out. It's the adult tree house I said earlier.
Yeah.
Come in, hang out, bring a friend, come by yourself, sit in the very comfortable seat at the bar, make friends, be social.
Yeah.
Yep. We've had somebody come in and sit in our window seats and just read a book,
love
So,
that.
I mean,
Yeah.
I love it. And the thing is you have music playing, but it's not distracting. That's not the focus of the space, right? The
Right.
entertainment is being present and being social.
There's so many places that you go that the music is so loud that even if you're trying to have a conversation with somebody, you're like, wait, what? Huh?
Yeah. Sit
Sorry."
closer.
Yeah, I
Sit
can't
closer.
hear you,
Yeah.
And so we have that very, fun music playing,
Right.
but it's not at a level to where it's like, oh my gosh, I can't hear what this person is saying. They're right next to me.
Right. It's ambiance. It's part of the decor. It's not part of the
Yes.
entertainment.
And our lights are different colors, and we try to make it fun and inviting to where it's not just this sterile white space.
And
It's
the work
just-
that you both have done in this space, even when
Yeah.
Wade was in there with his business, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It is beautiful.
thank you.
I really, really mean that. So you can, though, if you want to, pick up a membership.
And that's for people that want to use the simulator a lot.
Sure.
It will save them money in the long run.
I love it.
But then the people that are like, yeah, this simulator thing isn't for me, cool. We have a whole nother side of stuff that is for you.
Well, it's like going to the tanning bed. Some people will go and drop in and they'll go a couple of different times and maybe once or twice a month or
Yeah.
maybe once every other month. And then there's the person who's going to go to the tanning bed and they're going to get that membership package for the discount. You don't have to.
Right.
But you can
Right.
if you want to as a benefit. And so you have 4 tiers, is that correct, of
Yeah.
membership packages?
Yeah.
And they just the starter packages, or excuse me, membership is about what?
It's like $39 a month.
$39 a month. Yep.
Okay.
And we have them listed on our website as well with all the details.
Excellent website, by the way. Easy to reserve the simulator. I love the fact that you thought through the digital age where while you might be assisting with deliveries at 2 a.m., you aren't awake booking the simulator at 2 a.m. necessarily.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so you really have made it easy when maybe couples or friends are sitting around planning their night out and like, let's reserve that right now. And it's after your operating hours or a day that you actually take to rest.
Well, I have
and
to
the
give
website's
her
very
credit for that. She has created a few websites in her day. While that's not what she does for a main gig, she's very good at it. So she built our website from ground up, and so she gets the credit.
And that's the thing with technology, it's always evolving. And we have found throughout the years with our businesses that technology is a huge help. So anything that we can automate, anything that we can take off our plate where we don't have to answer a phone 24/7 is a blessing. Our Airbnbs are set up that way. It's all through automation. And so that's just kind of what we've done.
It doesn't mean that it replaces the role that you both so actively play in operating and being there for your guests.
Right.
Correct.
It actually is an aid to making sure that the customer experience is as seamless as possible
Yes.
and
Correct.
gives you both the best way to serve them in those particular areas.
Yeah. And when you come into Four Seasons, we are the faces of it. We don't have employees.
Yeah.
It's us. And we try to greet every single person that walks through the door, ask them how they heard about us, ask them if they're local, where they're from, that sort of thing, just to give that full customer experience that, hey, these people actually give a crap about me. And it's not just, oh, I'm walking in the door and I'm spending money while I'm here.
Sure. And if somebody does want to call in and make a reservation while we're there during business hours, we will take the reservation over the phone as well.
That's what I did.
So,
That's what I did.
Yeah.
I'm bringing my whole team
We answer
there.
the phone. Yes.
Yeah.
So we try to be accommodating to everybody.
Yeah. And you were great. I had some clarity questions on using the space, and you both were so great in making sure that we were able to bring our team in there and celebrate the work that I'm so excited to bring my team there, and also over to Volt, because I want them to see and celebrate the hard work that they do. So we're taking a staff development day together to come to your place.
Yeah,
and to Volt.
we appreciate that so much. And as well as the collaboration now that we are doing with the trolley tours.
Yes.
So that was awesome. Our first one with the Terrell crew
Which is
was
beautiful,
awesome.
isn't it,
Yeah.
to have that group?
That was
So
such a
fun.
great experience.
Yeah, so fun.
Yeah, they're still talking about it.
They had a great
really
time.
are.
We had a great time hosting them. So that was fun.
So with your daughter, with Elena, she has seen you both in so many different capacities, working so hard, happy, crying, bloody, washing your hands, eating a ton of Thai food.
Yeah.
What do you hope she picks up from this?
I think,
Excuse me, and also seeing the world. I mean,
yeah.
in an RV, but still seeing it. How cool.
Yep.
Kids love adventure. Being homeschooled, now returning to go to school. What do you hope for her out of all of this and for her?
I think the biggest thing with her is just knowing that, like, you can do anything. You can change your career. You can start your own business. You can do something that you've never done before. You can take those leaps of faith and just figure it out as you go. Because you don't have to be confined. You really don't. Yes, you can go to college for something. That doesn't mean that you have to do that for the rest of your life. And so, yeah, with her, we have just tried to instill in her that, like, you are in charge of your life. You get to call the shots. You can do whatever it is that you want to put your mind to. And I think along the way, we have raised this well-rounded kid that she has grown up with us renovating properties and running businesses, and
Right.
she knows what tools are called and how to use them. And she's a great gopher. When she was younger, oh my gosh, she loved just going and getting stuff for us or watching him wire electrical outlets. I have so many pictures and videos of her just watching him and him explaining things to her, and just pictures of her like swinging sledgehammers.
love it.
8, 9 years old, swinging sledgehammers and doing demo. She's been up for anything. And I think part of that resiliency with her is being a military child. Like, we moved a lot. Yeah. And so she adapted everywhere that she went. And even when we went on the road, she adapted. She made friends anywhere we were at.
That girl.
She had pen pals. Like, it was awesome. And she's a force to be reckoned with. I think that she will own her own business, at least one day.
At least one, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say, when I hear you both talk about the adventures, the experiences, the hard work that you have decided to dedicate yourselves to, she's been in the front seat of your life. She went through Stinson's. She was a part of the conversation. And that you're right. I can see how you see resiliency already in her at the age that she's at now. We hope she stays here. Maybe she'll pick up and help you run one of your own businesses, or who knows what she might start on her own, right?
Exactly.
The motivation.
She has morphed her college or her adult life. She's now thinking she wants to go to school maybe for business or something. So, which she used to want to be a vet. And so now she's kind of...
She has
gotten away
talked
from
about
that,
rental
but-
properties, and we said, okay, if that's what you want to do, that's totally cool. She was born in Charleston, South Carolina. She would like to go to college there. And so we'll see if that pans out, or if she changes her mind in the next 2 years. But she's talked about doing rentals. And so we told her, when you turn 18, if you want to flip a property or buy a rental, we will help you with your first project and see if that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
And
And
again,
that could fuel her if she likes it. That first property is that start that you need to start, right? The cash flow. You have to
Exactly.
do the next property.
yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what the next 2 years bring.
That'll be so fun.
She's getting ready to turn 16. And so we'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things that we try to instill in her is just, hard work and perseverance, and that resiliency we were talking about. And, that nothing worth doing really comes easy. You got to stick with it. You got to persevere. And she's seen, especially through this building renovation, how hard we've worked. And there's many times I come up there and I'm scratched and bleeding and whatever. And, she's always like, where'd you get that scratch? And I'm like, I don't even know. I just get them all the time.
Yeah.
But, that we've taken it from what it was and to see what it is now. And it's given us a place to live and call home, use as a home base. Even if we decide to go back to the road in the future, we think we'll always have the home base here.
Yeah.
And so,
I'm glad for that.
yeah.
I bet you are sure glad you bought that ticket to Missouri. How many years ago?
Yep.
That was maybe one of the first best decisions you ever made in your life.
I'm biased, but I think so. Yeah.
I know that we could probably talk for a whole nother hour and keep peeling back the Williams onion. I feel like from the bottom of my heart in all sincerity, thank you both for that choice to give back here, invest here. You could have stopped 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 projects or so ago, and you kept saying, we can do more. Let's do more and let's do it right. Lifting up neighbors, lifting up your daughter, being there for one another, helping bring life into the world. I mean, this is the first for me. But when I say thank you, I mean it. Thank you so very much. Over time, I hope you're thanked for the service that you gave to this country. That service never stopped. And same with you in your role as a doula. Thank you for that support, that information and emotional, informational support that you provide to not only mothers, but fathers and families. And for the same type of level of commitment you give to Wabash County and Wabash City. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
I really
Happy to do it.
And we appreciate the support that we've gotten from several partners around here in Wabash as well, including Visit Wabash County.
Thank you.
Yeah, with our Airbnbs and our rental properties and our building and our business and our businesses, all the things. It's been really awesome to have that community.
Small town feel. We help each other out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wabash is really good about that.
Yeah, I could not agree more. In the show notes of this episode, we will have links to your Facebook page. We will have links to your website. And then if you're interested in their Airbnb properties, we can even go that far and put links for their Airbnb properties in the show notes as well, and their contact information. I know I put the email for Fore Seasons in the show notes for this episode. You talk about this community pouring in. Like I told you when we sat down, this used to be a closet. This podcast studio used to be a closet, and we had people who did that and believed in us. And so the ThriveIN Wabash County Podcast is made possible at the hands of people like the Lisa Gilman Investment Fund, Sandy Kunkel Trust, Mark and Amy Ford, the City of Wabash, Paperworks Industries, the Community Foundation of Wabash County, and of course, Visit Wabash County. So we thank all of those incredible sponsors and donors that make this podcast possible. Well, guys, until next time, I'm Christine Floor, and this is ThriveIN Wabash County.
Thank you.